Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday night. It is time for Revolutionary Change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager, and the crowd's a little small so far. Guys, like button, stat.
We're getting very painfully suppressed. Like people, it's bad. We're even having people make comments saying how they've noticed that we're suppressed.
Go back to that picture, Colin. Well, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. Let's, do it for all it's worth. Jen and I are going to be in DC this week. This is the major event happening on Wednesday. If you happen to be in the DC area, we highly recommend that you come and check it out. 1,000 white coats on the Hill, Doctors Against Genocide. The event is going to take place all day. Primarily, it's going to be us, going and meeting with various legislators throughout the halls of Congress. There's a press conference at 10:30 on Upper Senate Park. Look, we're going to do everything we can in our capacity to make an impact, don't Jen?
Yeah, I'm sitting here kind of having a little bit of anxiety about like the dressing code situation, what we're doing here, because they're all going to look so like professional and dressed.
Oh, I'll be professional. I'll be professional.
You will? You're going to be professional?
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm wearing my uniform. Look, I've been living basically out of suitcase since January, and I have very limited resources here right now. So it is what it is.
But, like I said, I'm going to dress a certain way. You dress your way. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think people are.
It's going to be hot. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Yeah, I don't like sleeves. I don't like sleeves.
Well, again, I guess it depends on how long you're going to be standing outside and if you're going to be standing directly in the sun. All those things I think are relevant. So, just
I don't know what I'm doing.
Different things to consider. But yes, this is the event that we'll be at. And if you are in the DC area and are able to attend, definitely check it out. We're trying to do everything we can to bring as much attention to this as we can. I know that a lot of people think it's futile when you're trying to chase down representatives on Capitol Hill because they're all bought off by corporate special interests. We understand that.
Yeah.
But there is a fight to be had, and making more connections in person is always a good way to go about doing that. And so in the case of where we are right now as a nation, we have to prepare ourselves for the absolute worst because things are now getting dicey once again. As many of you saw, there was an attempt to try to, again, I think it's all pomp and circumstances. I'm sure you do as well. When these diplomats get together to try to form some type of a peace agreement in Iran with Iran, we all know that that's nonsense. That's really not happening. We understand that everything is based on what the Zio state wants, and the Zio state will continue to get, as we will get to over the course of the evening. But I think it is imperative that we do address the fact that China is not messing around here. China is 1,000% behind Iran, and obviously it's primarily for economic purposes.
Yes, it's for economic purposes, but I would also suggest that the world is just sick of us. They're sick of us. A majority of what we do in terms of our interference all around the world is because of trying to combat China, this sort of like economic Cold War that we're having, this new Cold War with China. And we've already lost it. So every other attempt just is desperate and it isn't working. And China knows it. It's that, don't interrupt your enemy when he's, sinking himself. So they don't, they're just watching us implode. But at the end of the day, they're also going to have their Taiwan problem solved.
China has warned Israel that they will do what they will do if Israel nukes Iran. The fact that we're even having this conversation about what if Israel nukes Iran, like the fact that that's even discussed has shown just
they'll
how
be annihilated. If Israel drops a nuclear weapon anywhere, they're done, because it'll be either China or Russia or both, and that'll be that.
The collapse of the U.S. empire was never going to come as a result of the firing of a shot. That's not what's going to do it. What's going to do it is what every other empire in history has always succumbed to, and that is the debasement of their currency, because the banking system is what controls the world. Now, The only reason the United States hasn't completely fallen yet is because the Zio state has not fallen yet. But as Jen often likes to say, we are one and the same. When one goes, the other will almost certainly go, especially if we go first and Israel obviously will go. If Israel does go, which we do think is going to happen, it's a question of when, not if, it'll be dependent upon how much damage is actually done as they are ushered out the door. Now, many of you have seen Chinese Prime Minister, many others have all issued statements today. Do not fuck with the Strait of Hormuz. Stop thinking that we're playing here. This is not a game. Well, one would say, is China prepared to enter a world war with the United States from a military standpoint? I would say that if push came to shove that they would, but that's not the angle that they're going for. The angle that they're going for is this, which is, again, the angle that very few people are talking about. In Strait of Hormuz, Iran and China take aim at U.S. dollar hegemony.
Well, this has always been the way. I mean, we started talking about this a few years ago. You know, the end of empire is going to be economic. It's not going to be that they're going to destroy us in terms of military might. They don't need to. We think we could bomb our way out of everything, and it doesn't work. No. And Russia's made a fortune on oil since this whole thing started. So they're laughing all the way to the bank.
As the U.S.-Israel war on Iran paused for 2 weeks on Wednesday amid fresh diplomatic talks, has roiled the global economy for more than a month, Iran and China have seized the opportunity to address a sharp gripe about the global financial system. Their common cause, ending the hegemony of the U.S. dollar. For years, they say, Washington has leveraged the dominance of the dollar in international trade to exert influence and inflict pain on enemies and competitors, Iran and China included. The supremacy of the dollar is especially apparent in the global oil market. Again, petrodollar, where about 80% of transactions are settled in the currency, according to a 2023 estimate by JP Morgan Chase. In Iran's control of the Strait of Hormuz, a conduit from the Gulf for about 1/5 of the global oil and liquefied natural gas supply, Tehran and Beijing have found a tool to boost keep going, Colin. The Chinese yuan is an alternative to the greenback. Under Iranian officials' de facto toll booth regime, commercial vessels are being charged transit fees in the yuan. According to multiple reports, the latest example of deepening Chinese-Iranian economic cooperation facilitated by China's currency. While it is unclear how many vessels have made payments in the yuan, at least 2 had done so as of March 25th, according to Lloyd's List. China's Ministry of Commerce last week acknowledged that Lloyd's List reporting in a social media post that appeared to confirm the use of yuan to settle payments. On Saturday, Iran's embassy in Zimbabwe said in a social media post that it was time to add the petro-yuan to the global oil market. That's a big deal.
Oh, that had to piss off some people.
Yeah. Chevron, BP, ExxonMobil.
Oh.
That's how it goes, guys.
I think it's yuan. I think it's yuan. If you guys know, I think it might be a 2-syllable.
It might be yuan. I think you might be right about that. Yeah, no, I think you might be right. I apologize.
No, I just never, I know I'm a gringa.
Aren't we all? Tehran, which on Wednesday said it would guarantee safe passage in the Strait for 2 weeks under a ceasefire deal reached with the U.S. Again, what does ceasefire deal mean anyway? And Beijing did not respond to requests for comment. At one level, Iran is aiming to poke its thumb in the U.S. eye, of course they are, adding insult to injury. Kenneth Rogoff, an economics professor at Harvard, and former chief economist at the IMF, sure. At another level, Iran is dead serious on preferring the yuan to avoid U.S. sanctions to cultivate its ally China, which has been moving steadily to denominate its own trade, and that of the BRICS nations into the yuan. And that is the new global currency. That's essentially what's going to happen.
I'm so here for it.
Colin, please.
I am so here for it.
For Tehran and Beijing, elevating the yuan is a win-win. The use of the currency allows China and Iran to skirt U.S. sanctions imposed via the dollar-dominated financial system. As you said, Trump was going to accelerate the revolution and the sanctions, or the tariffs, if you will, both ways that were going to do so. The thing about the rich, ladies and gentlemen, especially the managerial class, the finance class, if you will, the thing about them, first of all, they don't create anything, so it's inevitable that they would fall apart. But the problem is that they have always been convinced that they would not be the last ones holding the bag. What they don't understand is that people are not going to be buying U.S. Treasury notes anymore. And the people that think that what they have is worth a lot of money, it's not. And when you have certain types of assets, even in real estate, that are not going to be worth shit anymore, like office buildings, look at what's happening to Vegas. Vegas is just one example, but this is going to happen everywhere. It's going to be a completely devastated country. And of course, the working class will suffer the most, as they always do. But the rich are probably not going to be able to find their way out of it. And what you're ultimately going to see, and why the America First movement is the movement that will dominate politics going forward, these sons of bitches that have all the money, they're going to leave this country and go somewhere else. So when they literally came here, fucked you dirty, and then left without paying the bill, that's what's happening. Now, the question is, are we going to let them leave without having to pay the piper?
I don't think we have any control over that.
Maybe.
I think that the people that are going to get away with it are going to get away with it. And that's just the way it's going to be. And that's why when people ask, like, what do we need to do? Start learning how to be more independent of our infrastructure and less dependent on our supply chain.
Live off the
less
land.
Dependent on, well, I mean, there's not going to be some solution other than community building, mutual aid, smaller sustainable communities. That is the only way out. And it's just nobody really wants to hear that. But yeah, I mean, mostly this is going to be the wealthy people don't care if international trade is in US dollars or in Chinese yuan. They don't care. They're invested either way, right? Like that's the thing. Like I've always said this, I do not care what language the oligarch speaks. It's irrelevant to me who owns this. The fact that we're owned is the problem. So,
guys, we're getting heavily suppressed this evening, if you haven't noticed already. So make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already, and share the stream if you can. It also simplifies and reduces the cost of trade between the sides, which has boomed under a 25-year strategic partnership signed in 2021. Iran clearly understands the importance of this challenge to U.S. financial dominance, as well as the vital role of the dollar system and petrodollars. Bulan Gokay, a professor of international relations at Kiel University in the UK. For China, Gokay said, the move aligns with Beijing's aims of creating a multipolar financial world where the US dollar's central role is counterbalanced by the growing influence of emerging powers. China buys more than 80% of Iran's oil exports, enjoying discounted rates and purchases widely believed to be facilitated in yuan. Iran, in turn, imports large quantities of Chinese machinery, electronic equipment, chemicals, and industrial components. Oh, those damn raggedy Islamists out there in the West Asia. What the hell do they know how to use any of these products? They're so primitive, so behind the times.
Yeah.
The war has done little to disrupt oil flows between the two countries, which remains similar to pre-conflict levels, according to analyses by data and analytical firms. In the first 2 weeks of the conflict, Iran exported 12 million to 13.7 million barrels of crude, most of it to China, according to Kepler and tanker trackers. China has long harbored ambitions of challenging the primacy of the dollar. Obviously, that's why we're totally at war with China. In a speech to officials in 2024, Chinese President Xi Jinping expressed his hope that the yuan would become a common currency in international commerce and achieve global reserve currency status. And there it is. There he is. Global reserve currency status. That is the end of the U.S. domination right there. We were always wondering which country would look to supersede the United States in terms of currency currency hegemony around the world. It is obvious that China has been fortifying its positions for not decades, for generations. This has probably been going on ever since Mao took over, but it would definitely seem that China has significantly evolved from the 25-year reign that was hell on earth, that was Mao Zedong. So here we are today in a country that is emerging, and we're falling. And we are doing everything, and I mean everything, to help them take over.
Well, I am. Yes. I think it's time for somebody else to have a chance. If we were doing a real bang up job, maybe I'd have some reservations. And I want to say something about this whole concept of the dollar and the global dollar hegemony and how now we're going to lose it or whatever. The reason that's happening is because pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. Okay. See, we had that. We had the whole thing. We had a thriving economy. And you know what? China and other countries like Iran wanted to work with us and deal with us. Venezuela wanted to just work with us. But no, that wasn't enough. So you had to keep flying higher and higher to the sun, just like Ziohel. And now it's over because you could have, this is the exact point, is that the greed knows no bounds. We could have had dollar hegemony, but no, we had to go around and put sanctions on 60 something countries that cripples them instead of just being nice and trading with people. So now we're going to lose everything. And I honestly, it feels really poetically just.
The yuan has made steady inroads in recent years amid the growing influence of global South economies, many of which have strained relations with Washington. But the Chinese currency still has a steep mountain to climb if it is to pose a serious challenge to the greenback. Unlike the dollar, the yuan is not freely convertible due to Beijing's strict capital controls, meaning that businesses and institutions cannot exchange it for other currencies or move it across borders at will. This is the difference between capitalism and communism. And so
they protect their society. They protect and also their people get to determine how their money is spent in terms of collectively.
In a way that we could never have here in the States.
So that's why they prioritize things like transit, infrastructure, things that actually make regular people's lives better because they have to. That's just that's how they determine how their money is spent. And yet they're an authoritarian state.
When a very conservative business partner of mine who had very big reservations about going to China and going to Beijing, he came back and he said it is insane how far ahead that country is from us in terms of infrastructure.
Yeah.
So who's
and not only are they so far ahead of us, but this is what is so pathetic on our part. And I know this from a friend of mine who started doing business with the Chinese back in the 70s and was one of the only business people over there doing stuff and saw the growth, right? So they're not just ahead of us. They've lapped us twice at least. So the point isn't that they're ahead. The point is that they came from so far behind. And now because of how we prioritize things and what we chose to spend our resources doing, they're so far ahead. It's over.
This is also a question that I would ask, depending on who we are able to speak with on the Hill. I would say, if we are really concerned about China, which is obviously the top global priority, when you really get down to it, China is that is our competition. And so the fact that China has at least 5,000 plus miles of high-speed rail and we have none. Do you not understand how significant that is for countrywide commerce in China?
It's massive. And I'll tell you where I'm living now, when I go up to Chattanooga, the intersection of highways, interstates in Chattanooga, there's an intersection of 3 different highways at Chattanooga, 3 different interstates. And the amount of trucking, It used to be, I remember, you would see, you'd see trucking, but you would also see a lot of just like pedestrian cars, vehicles, regular people, whatever. Now, I would say it's 85% trucking. So our infrastructure, our supply chain is so heavily dependent on fossil fuel, on diesel, on stuff that we don't produce for ourselves.
It's archaic now.
And yet every other of these countries that we're supposedly competing against have actually been working towards bettering their own infrastructure and their supply chain. China probably, and again, I am not an expert on Chinese infrastructure, but I strongly doubt that it heavily relies on trucking as their primary means of supply chain.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we're just at such a disadvantage.
It's
And
also something,
yeah,
it's also something to be said for people that have been brought up in a certain level of not well, I mean, lack of education is definitely a part of it. There's a reason why people kind of like latch on to one thing and they make it their entire life and their entire identity. They don't evolve. They don't want to evolve. They don't know how to evolve. So, oh, I'm going to drive a truck for my entire life. Well, maybe you don't have to. Maybe there's other ways to do it. We also live in a country where we don't want to better our people. There is something to be said for when the monopolization of everything became figured out. We're seeing it now with AI, and you've seen it for generations. A handful of people get the goods. They use the crooked courts and the legal and legislative system to basically break all forms of competition. Anybody in this country who claims to be for capitalism, and I'm talking about real capitalism, if you think that this system is worth saving, or you defend this system, or also don't understand why millions of people in this country want socialism, then you're just a moron. Like, I have no sympathy whatsoever.
I also don't understand. I don't understand, like when you were even saying before, like China's our main competitor. Why are we competing with anybody? Have we ever thought about that for a second? And this is something where, and as I'm telling, I'm not a competitive person. I don't play, I don't do team sports. I've never been into that because I am never going to care as much.
You're a
and I would not want people to depend on me for stuff. But, why are we competing with them?
Because
why don't we do stuff that we're good at and let them do stuff they're good at? And why don't we just, I don't know, interact with them and trade?
It's human nature. We are so far behind. This is exactly why I keep bringing up the fact that as much as people like to blame Reagan, the fact is that I'm the person that fucked this country 9 ways to Sunday. I cannot even begin to tell you how far back this country got set. Not just by NAFTA, not just by normal trade relations with China. Glass-Steagall was the final nail in the coffin, but the Telecom Act, even the crime bill, everything.
I just don't understand it. And for people saying everything is a competition, okay, but then let's explain how countries like China don't go around the world bullying people and trying to beat them, but rather goes around trying to work with people and trade with people and build coalition with people.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing.
No, I'm saying, I'm talking to people in chat, like where it's about, it isn't about, we don't need to be competing with anybody. We need to be taking care of our own people. The problem is everybody's looking at this like our country is a corporation and we're competing for like, the best branding.
Correct.
Instead, but it isn't, that's the problem.
I didn't say
this isn't a corporation and we need to be taking care of our people.
Jen, again, we say it before, we will say it again. Do you see the name of this channel? This is not a joke. The only way that anything is changing is through a revolution. The people that control the levers of power have shown us time and again that they will not change no matter what. You will have to literally rip it from their cold, dead hands, and that's it.
No, I am not talking about
Jen,
communism.
let's not get this. Jen, we got a long show.
Stop talking to me that way. Stop it. You're not the boss of me. I'm talking about collective action, collectivism, working together because it's a class war. That's what I'm talking about.
The Chinese government's control over financial institutions, including the central bank, has further hampered adoption as it cements perceptions that China's markets lack transparency or a predictable regulatory footing. While the proportion of central banks' foreign exchange reserves held in dollars has been steady has been in steady decline for decades. The US currency is still by far the dominant reserve and currency global. How much longer is this, Colin? All right, it looks like it's got quite a bit, but I'm going to try to skim through this. No, scroll down. Let's stop there. Stop there. Even if China struggles to match the internationalization of the dollar, it may not matter much to Tehran, said Hosik Lee Makiyama, director of the European Center for International Policy Economy in Brussels. China purchases nearly all of Iran's oil, and their trade is actually in balance since Iran can get all the machinery and industrial goods that it cannot get elsewhere. Europe's and Japan's currencies could not displace the dollar in the past because neither power could supply oil-producing countries with all their import needs. That's key. Keep going. But China, he said, is perhaps the closest the world has seen to a manufacturing one-stop shop as the biggest manufacturer globally by far. Dan Steinbach, the founder of the consultancy Difference Group, said that while the supremacy of the US dollar would not change in the short term, the growing use of the yuan could chip away, has chipped away at US dominance in specific sectors over time. Overall, it is a question of gradual erosion rather than an abrupt substitution. Rogoff, the Harvard economist, said, much would depend on the end game of the war and ensuing fallout in the coming years. This war is not ending in any way, shape, or form that benefits the United States.
No, it's just going to continue. I mean, I think we get the gist of this. I mean, it's just going to continually benefit the nations that are sick and tired of our shit, which is everybody else.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Why would anybody at this point?
The
United States, unfortunately, and maybe this is just a reflection of the way things are throughout history. And maybe this is why libertarianism has also taken on a much larger role in the grand scheme of politics in the United States. We are, and have been for far too long, an technologically dependent, lethargic, incapable nation of standing on our own 2 feet. We have outsourced everything. We are trapped in a system that has no true safety net. We do not have healthcare. We do not have a living wage. We do not have a jobs program that could have been implemented especially in times of need, that FDR had put through during the 1930s and 1940s. Those days are gone. And what we have now is the worst elements of it's not free market. This is vulture capitalism run amok. There are no guardrails. There is no rule of law. We are living in a system that will inevitably collapse because there is nobody that's going to stop it. And the people who believe that they're living in the capital believe that everybody else is stuck in District 12 and they're screwed. Well, it is imperative on our part that we do not allow that to happen. But sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there are signs that happen around the world that give an indication that perhaps change is coming. Israel and the United States have been very dependent in the EU on the country of Hungary. And the reason for that is because Viktor Orban has been nothing short of a tyrant and has been at the forefront of this for the better part of almost 2 decades. And the other day, he got taken out of power. Now, what that means, time will tell. Can I have the article, please, Colin? This is coming directly from Yet News. This is not Times of Israel, but we'll get to that in a minute, because they're shitting bricks over there right now. At least you would think that they would be. So just prior to the election, in fact, this was a day before, if Orban falls, Israel could lose its EU firewall. Now, that would be a shame. Hungary has repeatedly used its EU veto to block sanctions on Israel. If opposition leader Peter Magyar, not Peter Hager, Peter Magyar, Close, but no cigar. Wins and aligns with Brussels to unlock billions in funding. Jerusalem could lose its last line of defense in the bloc. Again, that would be terrible. According to all polls, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is expected to lose Sunday's election to his rival Peter Magyar, which he did, a development that would deal a significant blow to Israel. While Israel would lose one of its closest allies, it would not necessarily lose Hungary altogether. In Israel, officials are closely watching the race. Orban is fighting a defensive campaign, and a victory for him would defy expectations. It didn't happen. Magyar's Tisa party has been deploying activists in an effort to disrupt Orban's campaign rallies, a tactic previously uncommon in Hungary. Very interesting. Playing dirty, I see. Recent trends are particularly troubling for Orban in several districts and 3 candidates. A third candidate not affiliated with either Orban or Magyar, has withdrawn in favor of the Tisa candidate. This wave of withdrawals over the past week has increased the opposition leader's chances of winning. Previous sentiment in Hungary is that Orban must pull off a last-minute surprise. Again, he didn't. Keep scrolling.
So Magyar, right, Travis, and that's not what I'm talking. But what's interesting is that as somebody who I used to have like this massive stamp collection because my uncle would get me all these stamps, and that's how you would always know the Hungarian stamps, because it would say Magyar Posta. So I just knew that I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it was Hungarian.
All right,
Magyar. That word, that was the name of their postal of their service.
Peter not Hager. How significant was Magyar victory be for Israel? Officials familiar with the matter say a Hungary led by Magyar would not resemble Spain or Ireland, which has taken some of the most hardline positions against Israel in the EU. Magyar is a center-right candidate. The concern for Israel lies in his campaign promise to secure $15 billion in EU funding for Hungary. So what you're saying is that Magyar is thinking about his own people, Hungary first, if you will, but not Israel too. So that's a problem. Again, I love it when the Zio scum like to say, oh, we don't need the U.S. We don't need anybody. We could stand on our own 2 feet. Please prove it. We would be more than happy to just pull out the rug and you could stand on your own 2 feet, or, for a few minutes.
Again, I don't think this is anything for us to be like celebrating, because this is just another right-wing person. No. They just happen to not be necessarily, aligned with the Zio state.
But here's where it gets interesting. To do so, he would need to align with Brussels. This would likely mean the end of Hungary's veto on decisions targeting Israel. As a result, Jerusalem could lose its last line of defense in the EU against sanctions, which require unanimity among all 27 member states. Hungary's vote has repeatedly blocked such initiatives, and that protection could now disappear.
Exactly.
You take your wins where you could get them.
Right. So, so what we're saying is we're not saying that this is really a win for Hungary. This isn't a win for Hungary. This is just potentially one more thing that could push Zio hell out of the world. So it could help.
For Pissmaster Netanyahu Milikowski, an Orban defeat would mean losing one of his closest allies among world leaders. Aside from the Donald, during the campaign, Netanyahu sought to support Orban. Yeah, that's not working out too well, is it? Sending a video message to a party event in Budapest and dispatching his son, Yair. Could you imagine dragging that little Nepo baby bitch out of Miami and sending him over there to basically be the rally monkey? Yeah, that made sense.
I'm just amazed that, more people don't know who he is. I don't know. Go after him down there.
Within the EU, Orban has been widely unpopular, with many leaders hoping for his removal. European intelligence agencies were reportedly behind the leak of recordings of conversations between Hungary's foreign minister and Russian foreign minister Sergei Lavrov, portraying Hungary as advancing Russian interests within the EU. At the same time, there are claims that Russia has conducted an aggressive influence campaign to help Orban. A source familiar with the issue said it would be enough for Magyar to turn Hungary into Germany, a country that strongly supports Israel but does not veto anti-Israel decisions. There are matters only Hungary blocks, such as sanctions against settlers. So, very much a, not a diverse nation, basically. Turning them into Ukraine. Till now, the EU has often refrained from issuing collective condemnations of Israel due to Hungary's veto. Instead, EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas would issue statements in her own name. If Magyar wins, that dynamic is expected to end, with the EU likely issuing unified statements backed by all 27 members. Such statements could target settlement construction, settler violence, and unusual military operations, genocide in Gaza, such as the recent strike in Beirut. Oh, we got a good one to get to right after this. Israel would no longer be able to rely on Hungary to create divisions within the bloc. So, things are not looking too good for that VP now, is it, Jen?
Well, he just got, I mean, that was the whole point. He was sent over to Pakistan to fail. This is, I mean, him going to meet with Orban was just whatever. But them sending him with his babysitters, Kushner and Witkoff, to go over there to then have to call Milikowski on the phone like he's your daddy, and then leave because you were told to leave. So, yeah, he's the fall guy. He's the fall guy. The reason that they sent J.D. Vance over to be that is so that it could fail, and now it'll look like Trump can fix this mess.
One of the things and one of the things that's been consistent, as we know throughout history, is that incumbency in the presidency is usually a shoo-in for re-election. That's generally how it's gone. As we have seen over the past few elections, that's not the case. When the ball starts bouncing back and forth, you know what that means? It means that economic collapse is real, and it's serious, and it's becoming a problem. That's why most people think that by some hook or crook, the Democrats are going to figure out a way to win in 2028. But what will end up happening, which should not surprise anybody, is that if America is still standing in 2032, the Republicans will win it back then. And the ball will keep bouncing until everything collapses because there is no trust.
No, because the Democrats are going to cease to exist nationally.
Maybe they will. You might be right.
The Republicans will be divided into two different factions, and the Democrats will cease to exist.
So, real brief, earthquake in Hungary, Orban defeated after 16 years in power. I mean, that is a long time. That is a long time to be in charge. Hungarian voters have ousted Prime Minister Viktor Orban after 16 years in power, delivering a stunning rebuke to one of the Western world's most entrenched populist leaders. I would not call him populist. So,
who calls him populist? He's like fascist.
Pretty much, yeah. So anyway, Colin, could you please pull up the other article, the one that shows what the big concern is? Now, the Times of Israel issued this statement just a couple hours ago. Hungary's Prime Minister-elect vows return to ICC, but stresses special relationship with Israel. After defeating Orban, a close Netanyahu ally, Peter Magyar, says he'll reverse Budapest's withdrawal from International Criminal Court, vows continued zero tolerance for anti-Semitism. Well, isn't that lovely?
That's such a neo-lib. This guy, this guy's no prize.
Colin, please.
What are you doing? He did. He
Go
scrolled
to
it.
his
What do
picture,
you want?
please. Go to his picture, please.
Oh, you want to see the picture?
Isn't
who
he?
Who does he think he is, this guy?
He's not a crook, Jen. He's definitely not a crook. Why was I getting confetti throwing down? I didn't win this election. I don't care how close my name is or that I have similar features. That's not me. I didn't win.
Why does it do that for you? It doesn't do it for me. That makes me so sad.
You're just not that popular, Jen.
Apparently, like, hey, why don't I get streamers? It makes me sad.
Here, let's do it together.
No. It's not, you can't make it rain and stop it.
I win. Hungarian Prime Minister-elect Peter Magyar pledged on Monday to return Budapest to being a member of the ICC after outgoing leader Viktor Orban quit the body last year in support of Netanyahu. Hey, listen, that's still a great development, whether you like it or not. Holding his first news conference following his election win a day earlier, Magyar said he would move to return Hungary to becoming an ICC member, but stopped short of expressing any opinion about the court's arrest warrant against Netanyahu on allegations of war crimes in Gaza. Well, he's not trying to get himself assassinated that quickly, guys. You know, he's trying to protect himself. Orban's withdrawal from the ICC is a process we cannot stop. However, we are going to relaunch Hungary's ascension to the ICC. I think it is in the interest of the international community in Hungary for us to be there. It's not in the interest of the U.S. and Israel to be there, but hey, things change. Orban pulled Hungary out of the court last year after it issued an arrest warrant against Netanyahu for alleged war crimes, arguing that it had become a political court. He announced the move as he welcomed the Israeli prime minister for a visit to Budapest, defying Hungary's legal obligation to arrest him as a party to the ICC. Magyar's decision could mean Netanyahu would not be able to visit Budapest again due to fears of arrest. Well, damn it, if you can't go to Budapest, then where the hell can you go? However, a number of other countries have indicated that they would not arrest Netanyahu were he to visit, despite maintaining memberships in the ICC. Well, there you go. And that is the closing image, if you will, that we should remember. As much as we think after all this time that change can't happen, change is happening. This is not good for Netanyahu at all. Despite what Magyar says, there's no question that his country is demanding a rebuke of Israel. And they're going to get it. And despite what the Times of Israel is saying, and we know that they want to paint as sweet and gentle a picture as they possibly can, their country is not going to survive this. And nor should they. You rain the holy terror on the world that you have, at our expense, no less. Eventually, the arc of justice is going to come calling, and it's calling now. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know that it's going to be that different. I'm kind of getting this vibe from that election, like the difference here between Democrats and Republicans, right? So maybe this new person will have more sternly worded language against the Zio state, but still isn't going to do anything about it. So I don't know. It remains to be seen.
One of the more tragic realities of being stuck in a situation as a nation where we can't make the difference that we want to make is when we see the systemic efforts on the global system that chooses to erase reality that is southern Lebanon. This has been going on for a long time, but now we're faced with this tragedy, as I'm sure most of you have seen. Apple Maps under fire for removing village names in southern Lebanon. Jen, why in God's name would they do that?
Well, what's weird, and I'm not an Apple user, so this doesn't, like, I wouldn't have known this because I don't use Apple. So and by the way, the Lebanon towns are still on Google Maps because I checked. So I think that for those of you that are using Apple, maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah, this is definitely, well, like, again, this will be interesting to see if there is any loss in market share as a result of them doing this. But the question is, what would possess them from doing it? To do it, I should say.
Who knows? But they're being either the person in charge is a Zio, or being bullied or blackmailed by a Zio, or scared. I don't know. But I don't know why. And honestly, for anybody who is, I would say anti-Zio, and certainly, yeah, it's disgusting. I've never been a Mac user. I've never had that. My husband is has always been pretty anti-Mac and anti all things that. So I don't know, but that shit needs to be shut down.
It's not looking good.
It shouldn't. And the whole concept of that you buy something, but you don't own it. And you have like, really? How is that a good thing for, I don't get it.
You're
I don't
talking about
understand the
like
whole
that.
Apple thing.
You're talking about Apple Music
Talking about
or
Apple
iTunes?
everything. It's just ridiculous. How when you have an iPhone, it's your whole world revolves around your new phone, and you got to go wait at the thing and do a thing. And all this stuff. Like it's like a cult. It's a cult.
You mean the people that line up and stuff? Yeah, it's pretty.
Oh my God.
It's disturbing.
Let me tell you, if John Lennon and George Harrison came back from the dead and the Beatles had a reunion concert, I still wouldn't wait in a line as long as what those people wait in to get a new iPhone. Not
Well,
seriously.
can you read some?
Social media users have raised concerns after noticing that village and town names in Lebanon are no longer visible on Apple Maps. The issue has gained traction online with users sharing screenshots showing blank areas where location names would typically appear. In contrast, Google Maps continues to display the names of villages and towns in the same region, highlighting a clear discrepancy between the two platforms. That's what I was saying. I wouldn't have
So
known this.
you know right there that this is politically heavy-handed. There's no way that Apple would do that shit unless Tim Cook and his cronies were being instructed to.
But what
Each
to
bit,
what
each bit.
end though? But here's my question. What did they think that would achieve? Like, what does that do? How does that help them?
It doesn't. You would never accuse. The one thing
I just don't see what the strategy is.
Yes, but one thing we've learned about the rich and powerful is that not all of them, in fact, probably not too many of them, are the sharpest knives in the drawer. That's the problem. They're just not. Would you like to continue, or do you want to just?
Do you want? Yeah, sure. Users have questioned while populated areas appear unnamed on one service while remaining clearly labeled on the other. The development comes amid ongoing tensions along the Lebanon. What source is this? What source are we reading?
The Lebanon-Israel border?
What source is this? What article is this? What is that?
No, it's Roy News English. Actually, I had a hard time finding this.
All right, keep going. Sorry. I'm like, what? That's so weird. The development comes amid ongoing tensions along the Lebanon, quote, Israel border, where, quote, Israeli forces continue operations in parts of southern Lebanon. Online reactions have linked the mapping issue to the broader situation on the ground, particularly as names of Israeli settlements across the border remain visible. As of now, Apple has not issued an official statement explaining the apparent removal of place names. The lack of clarity has fueled speculation, with users calling for transparency and an immediate explanation for the discrepancy. Honestly, this is stupid. I don't know what that accomplishes, considering one, the Apple Maps. Let's first look up what the Apple Maps market share is compared to other programs, because I would suggest it's so small that even them doing that, who cares? So
Well,
it's rude, it's disrespectful, it's typical caucasity bullshit. But so you think that's the problem, that the problem that the people in Lebanon, the 1.5 million displaced people and the people have died, that their concern is that their town names aren't in Apple Maps? See, I don't think they give a shit about that. I think that they would prefer their names not be there if they would just stop getting bombed. I don't understand why this even matters. No one cares about Apple Maps.
You're asking for too much, but I feel like I have to put on my Zio Hunter hat because evidently there is a direct tie-in here, as one should probably not be surprised. When a story like this comes out, you're looking for any clue that suggests, all right, who would be doing this? Who would be motivated to just do something as habitually cold-hearted and just totally devoid of human empathy when you consider what's going on right now. What were they going to do? Rename it into Israel South or some bullshit? Who knows?
Well, look, the entire state of Ziohel has been renamed. So yeah, that's what they do. But it's just as absurd as, okay, for example, Trump renamed the Gulf of Mexico. None of us have taken that seriously. Nobody cares. I don't care what little books he got to put his little
Gulf
new
of
name
America.
in.
Gulf of
Nobody
America.
cares. And this is the same thing. That's not the concern, isn't what people are naming things.
No, but this is a big concern.
Okay.
Minister Netanyahu visited our heroic soldiers in southern Lebanon just yesterday within the security zone. Our forces are pushing Hezbollah away from the border and dealing with the terrorist villages that are adjacent to us.
Terrorist
villages.
Terrorist villages. Terrorist villages.
Yeah.
National.
You know where there's terrorist? I know where there's terrorist villages. That is actually something I do know a little bit about. If you were to go to the West Bank area and you see the settlements that are up on hills, those are terrorist villages. So she knows what she's talking about when she says terrorist villages, but she's just applying it to the wrong location. Also, she would definitely benefit from a little threading.
You know,
a little bit of threading.
The thing about these chosen people is that she probably thinks she's gorgeous or has been told that she is for the longest time. First of all, she's probably not even 5 feet tall. And she's got this, you can, again, I'm not a fortune teller, but if I've ever seen a kvetching woman, that's a kvetching woman. That's a woman who doesn't understand the meaning of calm.
She's just doing her job. What does it matter whether it's her or Carolyn Levitt or any of the talking heads? Doesn't matter.
Oh, absolutely.
They're all the same.
But to talk about,
I don't think she's unattractive. I think she actually could be cute if she weren't a cunt. But the problem, I'm just simply saying, I think she would benefit from a little bit of threading work.
Well, Kenman nailed it. She does look like Batya. He's right about that.
Well, I don't find her like I don't agree with that.
Yeah, well, hey.
I wasn't being mean. I was being constructive.
Oh, I'm going to be mean. I'm going to be mean to anybody who's encouraging genocide.
That's fine. Whatever.
Well, again, this is the problem. You talk, again, you whitewash the names of the towns. Now you're calling them terrorist towns. What you are doing, villages, whatever, same thing, towns, villages, the same shit. You are encouraging the mass killing of innocent people. But Hamas is there, or Hezbollah is there. As I said, what can we control here in the United States? We have to end this relationship with these Zio bastards. That's our job. One more time.
Pushing Hezbollah away from the border and dealing with the terrorist villages that are adjacent to us on our northern border, while also defending our border at all times.
Your imaginary line in the sand, your imaginary line in the sand that nobody else recognizes but you, Les Nessman. Like what?
Is that her name?
Well, no, Les Nessman was the character on WKRP that so wished he had a cubicle that he put the tape on the floor and pretended he had walls to a non-existent office. And when people would come up to the tape, he would make them act like there was a wall there. So how do you not know about Les Nessman?
I don't.
Thing to know.
There's a lot of things that I don't know about. I'm not as hip to social cult. Well, no, I can't. I'm not even saying it right.
Okay. Anyone else in the chat remembers Les Nessman. That's how Israel is with their borders. They're Les Nessman.
Ashkenazi. Yes, we really should make that a thing. Ashkenazi. Because that is what they are.
See, they know WKRP. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
You did? Oh, you didn't? Oh, somebody else did.
God. David Hunter, you don't know who Les Nessman is? Oh, you guys need to do some research. All right, when we get to Thanksgiving, I'll have to play the clip that Jason and I watch every year on Thanksgiving. It's the WKRP turkey drop episode is one of the funniest things that I've ever, like, honestly, it was glorious.
Well, it is the top of the hour, and hopefully Butch will be here any minute. So let's quickly roll through our people. Big shout out to Miley's channel with the 5 gifted Revolutionary Change memberships. We can't thank you enough. And that is why you should go over to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a paid supporter of our small but mighty, despite suppressed, yet still growing channel. So any and all help you can provide is tremendously appreciated. And not to be outdone, Miley's channel leaves us £10. So our good friend in the UK definitely appreciates us as much as we appreciate you.
Thank you, Miley's channel.
Nancy Bernard with the 1999. Jen, would you like to do the honors?
Oh, because you don't want to read how right you were?
Oh, no.
Peter, you were so right about Eric Swalwell. Living in California, I wasn't going to vote for him anyway, but the Democratic Party deserves a Republican governor. Right in Butch Ware.
Yeah. That actually is something we should talk about because the primary is less than 2 months away.
Okay, guys, I'm going to tell, seriously, the WKRP turkey drop. Yes, wild turkeys absolutely fly. They fly. The turkeys that are bred to be butterball, they don't fly. They don't fly. And so when you drop them out of a plane and expect them to fly, they don't. Okay. So that's the premise. And God, seriously, it's hilarious. Gotta see it.
Touche. Jim Taleb with the $5 super sticker. Thank you very much, as always, for your support. And finally, we have one more. Valeros64 with the $10. If Hungary no longer vetoes the resolutions, what other country do you all think will be pressured by the Israelis to take its place? That's a good question.
Whoever's honestly, the weakest link, I'd have to look and see whatever country is in the weakest spot that would, but I honestly think that we're done. I do. I think we're done. I think the EU is done with us. They saw that we're not going to help them. They're done with us. We're out of West Asia. We're done there too. So I don't know. Maybe nobody.
Maybe that's why they were trying to get Ukraine into the EU so hard. I mean, that is part of it, I would imagine. But you never know. Rach, please reach out to Butch. I want to know what's going on. There's way too many cases now where we're supposed to have guests and they're not showing up.
Oh, Josie, you have wild turkeys? My parents used to have them on the mountain they had in North Carolina. I haven't seen any here. I've only seen farm turkeys, and they definitely are way too big to fly. They're like massive.
See, once you ask and you shall receive.
Exactly.
So we would not be surprised in the least that there is.
My earrings are racist? Really?
Race.
Are you thinking of this like some Southern Black American? What is wrong with you? It's a Palestinian. It's the watermelon from. Get out of here. Go away.
Well, ask the black man what he thinks about you wearing watermelon earrings.
I'm wearing watermelon. Seriously?
It's a joke.
Jesus.
You know how I feel about racial humor. Everyone is open.
I'm not a fan, and
everyone's
no.
open for business. Everyone can take it. That's generally the way it's supposed to be. The California gubernatorial election is in less than 2 months, and a major earthquake just hit. 2 earthquakes, I should say. First one is that the top 2 candidates in the race are both in the GOP. The second big earthquake is that the supposed leading Democratic candidate is now out. Probably because he's got a lot of skeletons in that closet that was about to come out because the Democrats are in deep shit in California.
That's a shame.
And then we have our good friend Butch Ware, who's running on the Green Party ticket at a time where people should be desperately looking for an off-ramp. Because if the GOP looks like they're in a position to win, then maybe sticking with the Democrats just isn't such a smart move anymore. Maybe building an infrastructure from the bottom up in a party that isn't going to be run by corporate special interests might just be the ticket. And that is why we are pleased to welcome back, as always, Butch Ware to Revolutionary Change.
Great to be with you guys. Yeah, I mean, the Democrat Party is in shambles. Bury it in Gaza. And, you know, right. And yeah, we're here to talk all about, you know, exactly the crisis that they're in, which was entirely predictable. And as I said, in 2024, this is a party that's going the way of the Whigs. And they are proving that right now in the state of California. So we've got one of two options in the state of California. Realistically, the Dems are not the answer for anything. And the future of, you know, politics is essentially a traffic light decision. Red means stop and green means go. And because of that, they are really doing everything that they can to try to, like, you know, kneecap my campaign in the state of California, because they're deathly afraid. The most recent polling has me 5 points off the leading Democrat candidates and 8 points off the lead. And that's led to a crisis inside Team Blue Genocide.
Good. See, that gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. You know, I mean, one of the things we had always talked about was this idea of how fun it would be to watch you debate Kamala Harris. Like when you originally were looking at this, and this idea was this assumption that Kamala would run. And that would be, and that would be glorious to watch, by the way. So that, I think, does change things a little bit strategically in terms of who it is in there and what the GOP is doing. It's a little bit of a different situation, I think, than, you know, just being able to show how much better you are than a Democrat. I think it's pretty easy now.
Yeah, I mean, so the situation on the Republican side, you've got two maggots, right? MAGATS, you know, Hilton, Hilton and Bianco, who have been essentially, you know, splitting the vote, both of them running at about 13 points. And just for context, if you had taken the three leading Democrats before Swalwell, you know, imploded, you know, in the, you know, because of apparently like multiple decades of known, you know, dalliances with staffers, including apparent sexual assault. Man, I mean, but if you had taken all three of those leading candidates and put them together, you were essentially looking at parity between the Democrat and Republican leaders. 30 points divided between three Democrats, 26 points divided between two Republicans. So things are going to start to sort themselves out along those lines, especially now that Trump has come out and endorsed Dr. Evil himself, Steve Hilton. And I mean, just be clear. I mean, literally, like, is there a better, you know, like Dr. Evil impersonator, a real life Dr. Evil impersonator than Steve Hilton?
He's the one candidate that doesn't look as attractive as me. So there you go.
I was hoping we could get a Trump impression out of you, you know, with that reference. So, I mean, we'll see what happens on the Republican side. They're both extraordinarily weak candidates, and all three of the Democratic candidates are weak candidates. When we entered the race, we were expecting to have to get about 17% of the vote to finish in the top two, and probably 22% to finish in the number one position in the jungle primary. Our internal projections now make it pretty clear that we'll finish in the top two with 13 or 14% of the vote.
Nice.
And can actually win with 18 or 19. And so that's the reason why the Democrats, the Secretary of State has been trying to kick me off the ballot and get me thrown out of the race altogether, because they understand that they are vulnerable to losing everything right now. We're going to have we have a very good chance at having a top two primary that is just either me versus Steve Hilton, or me versus whichever corporate Democrat emerges from the pile of, you know, corpses that the Democrats are rolling out there. And the thing is that in either of those scenarios, I win. Because in the debate stage, we don't have to speculate what that looks like. I've been on the debate stages with all of the top Democrats, and they've been begging to get me out of the debates ever since then, because it's a bloodbath. right? It's an absolute bloodbath. And I can give specifics on that. But just to be clear, that jungle primary, which was designed to silence third-party candidacies, can really backfire on them in this situation, because if I finish in the top two, I'm going to get all of those independent and centrist Republicans, because they're going to hear me banging on Gavin Newsom and the Democrat establishment, and they're going to love it. Whereas if it's me versus a Republican, then all of Team Blue is going to be rallied to my cause. So one way or the other, we finish in that top two, and we're turning the governor's mansion green.
Butch, I think that being on the ground as long as you have, I think it's important for people to understand, regardless of what happens in this race, I have not seen this late in the polls two Republicans, which I have no doubt they see an opening. I have no doubt that Bianco is probably focusing on one part of the state. Like he's probably focusing on the Central Valley all the way south through San Bernardino, Riverside, and whatnot. And Hilton is obviously sticking strictly to the coastlines. And what I see here is a very coordinated effort, because they see an opening that the Democrats are very vulnerable in California. Do you see this in a similar capacity? Because it's never like this. They're usually able to do it, but the Democratic Party was weak as shit to begin with prior to Swalwell ending up in the scandal. And this only opens up the floodgates even worse so, because he was the leading Democrat in the race. Like, this is not
he
good.
would, and leading like literally running at 10.5%, right? I mean, leading in air quotes. Meanwhile, Tom Steyer has dumped $100 million into this campaign and can't open a 5-point lead on me, right? Because you can't buy a personality. So this is like just a completely dead field. Like Swalwell, even before what was revealed about him, came out, like he was essentially Timu Gavin, right? He was just a knockoff version of Gavin Newsom. Without even the kind of slick Willie Bill Clinton 2.0 charm that Newsom had. So this is a really, really weak field. So of course the Republicans see an opportunity, they see an opening. But I just want to be clear, there's been a lot of messaging, especially in liberal and even in some progressive media, about, oh, well, we've got to clear the Democrat field or shorten the Democrat field somehow, because otherwise we're going to end up with a Republican governor in the state of California. Let me be clear, under no circumstances is there going to be a Republican governor in the state of California. If two Republicans actually somehow manage to emerge from the primary because the Democrats are effective in keeping me off the ballot, and then we're not able to get the numbers that we want in a write-in, we've got 3 separate legal actions to make sure that we're on the ballot, but I'm just giving worst case scenarios here. Let's say we do end up with Bianco and Hilton, each consolidating, as you put it, Peter, bases in different parts of the state. And because of a weak Democrat field, let's say that they're able to emerge as the top 2 candidates. Immediately, there will be a recall election as soon as that happens. And neither one of those Republican candidates is going to serve a day as governor in the state of California, because there'll be an immediate recall election, and that'll be the end of that. So the messaging that we're going to let the state go to the Republicans is fear-mongering that's designed to whittle down the field and force out the third-party candidate that is dangerous in the moment. I don't think that the Democrats believe for a second that they're actually going to end up with a Republican governor in this cycle. That reminds
me, Peter, that reminds me of when we ran in 20 and Debbie would be telling people, oh, well, if Jen wins a primary, then she'll lose to the Republican for sure. Then, of course, then she can't, like that. And it was total fear mongering, as if a Republican could have won the district at that time. It wouldn't have been possible. So.
Yeah, it's a very heavy lift for them. And all it takes, to be perfectly honest, there's 2 scenarios in which you can get the Republicans out of the race on June 2nd. The first and the best scenario is to get me to 14% of the vote, and then there's no Republican in the race, period, for the general election, right? It's just blue versus green. The second scenario is if the Democrats are able to get together and consolidate behind whichever corporate fraud they intend on running, then they are going to demographically, especially if it remains divided between Bianco and Hilton, they're going to be able to get to their 19 or 20 or 21% that will be needed for them to finish in the top slot. And in that scenario, again, if they're able to depress the voter turnout for me, then you're going to end up with one blue versus one red. The idea that you're going to have two red candidates, I think that it's just game. I think that it's just hustle. And I think that it's designed to create a vote blue no matter who narrative inside a jungle primary where there actually is no lesser of two evils argument that can be deployed.
I'm going to push back on you in one aspect.
Please do. Please do.
So part of the reason I actually think that there is a distinct possibility that two GOPers go to the general, not just because the Democratic field is extremely weak, and I know they're going to try to consolidate because that's what they always do. They always hand ring. I mean, we know how the Democrats operate. We've seen their modus operandi for years. So this is not going to change. However, I do think that there is a significant portion of the voting demographic in the state of California that simply because of the lack of financial infrastructure that your campaign has versus theirs, where the average, even Democratic voter that's living in Simi Valley is looking around saying, things really fucking suck. And we've been doing the same thing for the past 3 decades. And the last time things were good, I was in the governor's mansion and I really made things worse. So
we got a Trump and a Schwarzenegger in one episode. Thank you.
Yeah, I told you.
Beautiful. Keep going. Sorry.
That's the last time that California was 2003 that they had the Gray Davis recall election. So we're talking over 2 decades, almost 25 years ago that this took place. And ever since then, there's the whole domination blue of California, and we've seen the effects of what that has done by having a neoliberal nightmare come to life, which is California. Cost of living completely insane. Travel an absolute disaster. The fact that that state calls itself Democrat and they can't even get a high-speed rail from LA to Vegas, something as simple as that is just crazy. But now what you're looking at is the name game. It's the name game is really where it's at. So I think there's a shitload of Democrats in the state of California that are just going to say, you know what, the hell with it. Let's try something else. That's why getting your name out there is imperative.
I could not agree with you more. The disaffection with the Democrats is broad for the reasons that you raise and could even go further on, right? That the third largest economy on the planet behind China and Germany, right? That's what California is, the third largest economy, highest wealth inequality of any state in the union. That's been done all on Team Blue's watch, right? 60 years of majorities and supermajorities in the state legislature for the Democrats. They're the ones that have produced these wealth inequalities, which goes right to the heart of the neoliberal, economic point that you make. And then even worse, tied with Louisiana for the highest rates of true poverty of any state in the union, right? While you have 186 billionaires in the state of California and 187,000 people sleep on the streets every night. So yes, the disaffection is massive. I would be inclined to agree with you, Peter, that some of those voters would traditionally, under other circumstances, turn towards a Republican candidate just because, except the theatrics of ICE escalations inside the state of California has made the Republicans so toxic. And that's the reason, by the way, that we had polling numbers of 5% as early as January, right? It was Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell's campaign ran our first polls for us because I so badly destroyed Katie Porter in the gubernatorial debates back last August that Swalwell, when he was deciding whether to enter the race, the first 4 questions on his surveys were about me. And that gave us the first numbers that we had. I was polling at 2% in December, which for context, Mamdani didn't get to 2% until February. We had a 5% poll number come out on January 5th, and it took Mamdani till April to get to that 5%. we don't know where I am right now because we can't afford to waste money on polls.
Of
We're
course.
spending it on
Yeah.
field operations and infrastructure. But my suspicion is that the reason why the Secretary of State was given instructions to knock me off the ballot was that they probably had internal polling that had me at neck and neck with Steyer, with Porter and Swalwell at around that 10% mark. And they were just trying to move me out of the way for the reasons that Peter cites. Is that all of those people that are disaffected with how the Democrats have run the state are just like, yeah, let's try something different, and we can't turn to Team Red fascism. So let's try this Green Party candidate who's running on all of these things that ordinary working people are interested in, right? So that's been the appeal of the campaign from the beginning. And I'll just say we have had as much traction and action in rural communities in the state of California in traditionally quote unquote red counties as we have had in the large cities. This is a message that reaches working class people no matter where they are, because Gavin Newsom is a criminal, right? The Democrats have run the state of California like a mafia organization, and they are feeding all of their cronies from our tax dollars. Tanity Hall has nothing on the corruption of Gavin Newsom's administration. So when I say I'm not a Democrat, ain't never been a Democrat, I'm happy to go in and clean house of both Democrat bullshit and Republican bullshit alike. People are responding to that.
That's a great point. I would also say that as a gubernatorial candidate in the most populous state, I think a lot of people like to know, regardless of, win or lose in the next 6 weeks, what has been the experience like? What has been, perhaps the more rewarding aspects of running this statewide race, and, what's been some of the drawbacks?
I really appreciate the question, because I've had to reflect on this, as we've been marshaling the legal resources to fight these people in court and getting just tremendous support from the grassroots. We don't take any corporate donations. We don't take any PAC donations. But if you could, literally, we did a fundraiser in the Muslim community in Orange County after getting knocked off the ballot. And in 2 hours, we raised 24 grand just from, ordinary families who were ready to kick in to help us, fight this fight. What the most rewarding part, to be truthful, might have been the day that the Secretary of State, ruled against us. The judge ruled against us, the most corrupt ruling in history, right? Because it was proven in court that the supposed deficiencies in my tax return filing, that they actually had correct copies in their possession the whole time. They had entered this into evidence, so our lawyer was able to show the whole thing was a fraud. He was also able to show that the Secretary of State had doctored an email thread and submitted it into evidence. It was that bad, and the judge still ruled against us. But why am I saying this was a great day? Because the people that came out and packed the court and that packed the steps of the court, they were like every color in the rainbow. They were like 16 to 80 in terms of the age range. There were, Muslims out there in full hijab and kufi. There were, sisters out there in denim shorts and tank tops, and everybody was all love. And so what I've been able to see is that this is a movement that whatever happens in this electoral cycle, we're going to continue to build this movement, because we're putting together a coalition that has not existed in American politics since the Panthers were doing this kind of work in the 60s. And so that is heartening for me. The part that is, discouraging, I've been knocked down a lot in my life. I started my life, in neighborhoods that, like DC was the murder capital of the world. People didn't survive my neighborhoods. So I've been knocked down a lot in life. I tend to not stay down. But I think that the part that has been most discouraging, to be truthful, is just the nakedness of the corruption. That they are. What they did to us in court, they know that it won't hold up under appeals. They don't care, right?
No, because they're tying you up and it's costing you money and it's just tactical. Of course, they don't care if they can win.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It was designed. Their hope is to try to keep me out of the voters' guide. They know that they're not going to be able to keep me off the ballot, and one way or the other, they can't keep us out of the election. It's just that they're going to do whatever they can with the resources that are in their hand, and it's so insanely cynical. Like, we've got a Green Party candidate that's running for Secretary of State in the state of California, and he has to appeal to the very same Secretary of State to get, you know, his paperwork validated. The conflicts of interest, the corruption, like for those libs out there who understand how Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, their job is just to run cover and carry water for the Republicans, understand that that is almost like what's the word that I'm looking for? That it's almost comical how much worse the judiciary in the state of California is under Gavin Newsom. They literally just execute the orders that come down from on high. So the corruption is sickening, filthy, and disgusting, and that has been exhausting to deal with.
I wanted to go back to the comment you made about the fundraiser in the Muslim community, because let me tell you, I've seen this firsthand, people. I've seen this firsthand. Muslims have fundraisers. Kind of, it reminds you of like an auction where there's somebody on the phone too. Like, there's always somebody on the phone. And okay, first of all, I've never seen anything like this. They come out and they just ask for money, and people just give them money. And then there's the guy on the phone, and they're upping it. Like, it's insane. I know.
It happened in the, like, literally, like, the host is on the phone. He's like, okay, we've got a call. There's somebody's willing to match $5,000 if we can get $5,000 out of the room in the next, you know. And so literally, like, the Pakistani auntie is like, okay, I'll put in 1,000. And then somebody else is like, somebody's like, okay, 500, we'll get 500. And literally the room just finds a way to make it happen. And just to be clear, like, we have that love, not just in the Muslim community, but in every kind of community up and down the coast. When we pass the hat, in Humboldt County, it's the same outcome, right? So it's been a beautiful thing. As I said before, win, lose, or draw, and I'm still coming for their necks. But win, lose, or draw, what we're building is going to carry momentum forward. And this is a critical part, right? The Green Party has been what the Green Party has been. It's been a party that has been able to stay on the field the way that no other third party has, right? Maintained electoral access, but let's just be clear, it's been dominated by aging white environmentalists, and has not been the kind of true opposition party that we all need. What's happening in the state of California is that we are building the political machinery on the ground so that the Green Party can become the opposition party that all of us need in this moment. And by the way, that's not just happening here. So I'm starting a campus speaking tour. We're calling it Divest from Occupation, Invest in Education. And we're going up, two dozen campuses in 12 days. Greg Stoker, who's running Green for Texas, for Congress in Texas, is coming out, joining me on the speaking tour. Guy Christensen, your favorite guy, the TikToker on that, the anti-Zionist TikToker, he's coming out and joining me for a leg of the speaking tour. Brian McGinnis, who's running for Senate in North Carolina, had his arm broken for saying we're not going to war for Israel. He's coming out and joining me. We're doing events together here in Santa Barbara, in Berkeley, and then down in San Diego, right in the heart of the military-industrial complex, with all of those veterans and all of that military machine. We got an anti-war, anti-genocide Marine coming through and spreading this message. So yeah, you're going to get Malcolm from me on every day that ends in a Y. You're going to get the full Black liberation, message, but we're bringing team that communicates the same core values from a bunch of different subject positions. So we're building, and the people that say, well, where's the Green Party between presidential elections? We outside, like that's
why not? And I do want to say,
they're having to spend an enormous amount of time fighting ridiculous lawsuits to be able to participate in a democratic process.
Yes, but what you have now is you actually have a leadership coalition unlike anything that the party's ever had before. I mean,
Right.
yes, you had Ralph Nader, and you could definitely say that he was a leader of sorts, but Ralph has always, I mean this in the most complimentary way possible, Ralph has always been 65 years old for the past 50 years. So there is really something
You said Ralph was born 65 years old. He just came.
Yeah, he's been that for that long, and that's the problem. But the truth is that he also came up at a time when, particularly when he was a threat back in 2000, when he actually almost got 5% of the vote, and that would have changed everything for the Green Party. And the fact is that if social media was even a fraction of what it was even 15 years ago, back in 2000, that could have been the difference. Like, it really
100%.
would have made that big of a difference. And
okay, I voted for Ralph Nader in 2000, and I lived in Texas, so I did that purposefully because my vote would have my vote was useless in Texas anyway.
But people got to stop looking at it as that. Oh, at least I know it's not going to matter here in the state. No, you vote.
Oh, I would have voted for. Oh, I was going to vote. I was going to vote how I was going to vote anyway. I didn't care. But I'm just, nobody gave me a hard time about it for that reason.
But what I also think is imperative here is that you now have a leadership coalition that is building. I'm not going to say anything ill about anybody in the past who's been in the leadership position. But what you do have now is you have Anthony Aguilar.
Yeah.
You have Greg Stoker.
Yep.
And you have yourself.
Yep.
And you have Brian McGinnis.
Yep.
And little by little, I mean, listen, say what you want, but I call it the Green Beret Party.
Yeah.
Because there is something to be said for how you market your party. And to me, there are not thousands, there are millions of disaffected veterans.
Oh my God!
Alone,
I've been hearing from them, the expressions of solidarity, because let's be clear, the overwhelming majority of veterans are just grist in the mill of the war machine, right? So what was the rapper? The rapper Madface said, you don't even know how the war started. You just couldn't afford college, right? These are poor working class kids usually that are just trying to find a way out of wherever their neighborhoods are, whether that's a hood neighborhood or a rural neighborhood, or they're running, from whatever they're running from, and get pulled into this complex, and then it chews them up, spits them out, so that an oligarch can stack another, 6 feet of gold coins in his vault, right? That he can sleep on like Scrooge McDuck. So these are people that are being chewed up and spit out by the military industrial complex. And that's why it's so critical to have anti-war veterans as key voices in the movement. Now, they can't be the only voices in the movement, but we've been cultivating all kinds of leadership. Some of our kind of key campaign surrogates here in the state of California, like Fernando de Veras and his partner Leslie Priscilla. They're super dope activists, active in Santa Ana, do community organizing, political education. Like, it's running across the spectrum. My own, she started as my communications director, is now our deputy campaign manager because she's just so good as comms director. We moved her straight into the executive. Angelica Ross, right? We've got trans community not just represented, but in positions of leadership, driving policy, driving conversation. It is a big opposition tent. And if you go to butchwareforgov.com, at the bottom of the page, every page, it says solidarity beyond identity and ideology. We're not, we're not checking your Marxist socialist card at the door. We're literally just asking anybody who is fed up with this system to help us build the power that is needed to contest it. And that's what we're doing.
That is going to be, again, you can't think about anything until after June 2nd, but win or lose after June 2nd, that's where the next phase of this, I think, becomes the future of what this party can be. When you actually have noted leadership that people like and trust and respect, that's when you can build a coalition that is actually capable of fundraising. Yeah. When you are able to build a bank account, if you will, for the party, not in the hundreds of thousands, but in the millions of dollars across the country, you can start identifying, hey, think about that. You know, I think of that girl, I don't want to name her because it's not worth it, but the girl who runs Run for Something in Brooklyn, which they claim is for people to run for office, but we all know it's a front group for the Democratic Party establishment.
Yeah.
That is an example of what the Green Party could have without the corporate backing. You can have people say, you want to run for something, we'll have you run for a race where you can actually make a difference. And the fact is, most people in this country would want Green anyway in all nonpartisan races. They identify with the Green Party, but you run as an independent, which is the way everything should be anyway.
Well, so you raised so many critical points. I'll hone in on two. So the first, to go back to like what are Greens doing, and you know, the nonpartisan elections, we've run the numbers. So partisan and nonpartisan elections nationwide, the last 3 years, Greens have won 57% of the elections in which we have run for office. 57%. And it's just that those are from mayor downwards, because as soon as the money gets big, the Democrats and Republicans just turn a fire hose of blood money on, or they turn the Secretary of State, you know, against you so that you can't stay on the ballot, or that you have to, you know, spend a lot of resources in order to get back on the ballot. So they create those challenges in that way. But we are absolutely, we're winning right now. And that's also, you've seen the example of how this works in the UK. The UK, they won, the Green Party there won one by-election, the equivalent of a congressional election. And in the last month, they have gone past both Labour and now Reform. So they've passed both Democrats and Republicans, the equivalent of those in the parliamentary system in the UK, in national public opinion polls. And the reason for that is simple. People love our policies. The problem is that we are always being outspent and battered down by the duopoly. One election where we are actually able to break through, and that changes that forever. And to return to your original point, whatever happens in this electoral cycle, we are building that power and that broad roster, that deep bench, and getting those resources. I mean, let me be clear. I was ready. We had a war chest. You know, so when we had to, you know, get retainers, to get lawyers activated, to file cases, to file appeals, we've got a federal suit now that we're preparing against the Secretary of State. I'm not playing with these people. We've been fundraising, and we've been, you know, building the networks nationwide that came out of the 2024 presidential campaign so that we can activate those now.
Last point before you go. This is very important. You mentioned the Green Party victory in the UK, which was substantial. What was the key difference between Labour, the Tories, and the Greens, and why the Greens pulled it off? The Greens stood up to the Israel lobby and said, we are not supporting them. And that, as people are like, oh my God, how did the Greens become like a real political force for really for the first time? Like, they are a force now. Period.
Yeah.
So when people are asking, like, how did this happen? The Israel issue came to the forefront. And that's why I want to address this issue with you and Jen about J Street. I personally believe.
I love to talk about J. Can I just answer somebody in the chat for somebody's talking about trying to going into a mosque and talking to them about the uniting with the Christians? My experience is that a lot of mosques will have interfaith dinners, and they'll especially have interfaith iftars during Ramadan. So they would probably be very open to talking with you. That's my experience. I don't know what other stuff they have during the year, but I do know that there were a lot of interfaith. They'll invite anybody to come and eat with them. That's what I've learned about the mosques. If you want to, they'll invite anybody to come and eat with them.
For sure.
Yeah, and don't forget the viral meme on TikTok, you know, where the woman was calling with the baby crying in the background, and asking who would buy some formula for her, and all the churches turned them down, and every mosque was, and literally, if you know these mosque communities, you know, and it was literally whoever answered the phone was just going to get on the bus and bring baby formula themselves, right? That's literally how the community is wired. And don't get me wrong, you know, I'm critical about certain things in my own community. I'm critical about, sometimes the anti-blackness in my community. I'm critical sometimes about the misogyny that can persist in certain sectors. But the reality is that the Muslim community consistently is the most progressive practicing religious community when it comes to, polling that's systematic across the board. And the compassion and mercy is baked in our faith tradition, man.
Yes.
It's just there. It's just
and
there.
nobody forces you, and that's something that I appreciated. I would tell them right up, look, I'm not reverting, nothing's happening here. And everybody was always very, very chill. It wasn't like proselytizing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I also find it very cathartic to watch the prayer. But I felt very welcome. I always feel very welcome.
The bottom line about the Muslim faith is that it does not completely adhere to Western values, and it doesn't believe in idolatry. Like, it actually practices that belief system. We are not here to cry over the Virgin Mary, with all due respect. We are not here to look at this fancy architecture. We are here.
Peace be upon her, because she's referenced.
Peace be upon her. She gets. Yep.
In the Quran,
respect.
But you don't need multi-million-dollar marble statues of her. Yeah, again, this is why people look at religion as a grift, and for the most part it is. But for people who actually believe in Allah and believe in Muhammad and believe in the tenements of the Quran, despite what people will want you to believe, there is no more accepting religious denomination in the West than Sunni Muslim.
I'll give you a couple of jewels from the tradition just to help underline this point. The Prophet's cousin Ali, may God be pleased with him, he said the human being is either your brother or sister in Islam, or your brother and sister in faith. That's reference to the Jews and the Christians and the other people that believe in God, or they're your brother and sister in humanity. Treat them all with dignity. So the one across the board. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, help your brother, whether he is oppressed or oppressor. And they said to him, Messenger of God, how do we help an oppressor? And what they really meant was, why the hell would we help an oppressor? And he said, stop him from oppressing.
Yes.
The justice element, the struggle against oppression, that is the critical core part. And you shouted out the Sunni tradition. I'm going to shout out the Shia tradition, because you have seen the Iranians, the Yemenis standing 10 toes down in the fight against Western imperialism on the international stage. So while the values inside the Sunni Muslim community and the community level are wonderful and tremendous, we got to be honest that a lot of those, especially the Gulf Sunni leaders, they are just neo-colonial babysitters whose job is to do. But now, granted, the pro-Palestine, sentiment inside the populations, the anti-imperialist, sentiment inside those countries and communities is broad. But the leadership, sadly, in a lot of those places, the Emirates and Egypt, and it's bought and paid for.
To me, they're not. Those are not. That's not Muslim. Right?
No,
that's not Muslim any more than the Israelis are Jewish, right? Like, they're not.
Bingo. Nailed it.
It's whatever it is. It's fascism, and it's just authoritarianism, and it's like tyranny. But the people that I have ever met in the Muslim community have been nothing but warm and kind and welcoming, and not like having any issue with me being an atheist Jew.
No,
I didn't try to convince me,
La ikraha fi din. It says it in the Quran. There's no compulsion in religion. People are free to believe as they want. And one of my teachers in West Africa, Sheikh Tijani Sise, he said, when you compel someone to believe something, you don't gain a believer, you gain a hypocrite. That's not the aim of the faith. So I want to bring this back to the political conversation with this realization. I think that what they're so afraid of is that the political mobilization of the Muslim community really gives us a huge advantage in the primary for the following reason. There were about 5.5 million people that voted in the 2022 primary. Primary turnout is low, okay? if you get a few communities that are engaged and invested and are willing to turn out in a low voter turnout environment, you're going to do very well. All of our numbers say it's going to take about 1.2 million votes tops to win this primary, right? There are 1 million Muslims in the state of California, and the Muslims voted 53% for the Steinware ticket in the presidential election, and now the contrast is even clearer because there's one Muslim candidate in the race, and the system is so afraid of him that they're trying to kick him off the ballot. And the reason is that you can either vote for Butch Ware or you can vote for AIPAC. Those are your two choices. Whether you're voting for the Democrats, Javier Becerra, or any of the rest of them, or the Republicans, you are voting for AIPAC. So we fully expect 70+% of the Muslim vote. Now look at what that does. It means that we only have to shave off a very small fraction of the 18 to 24 demographic, which we know is strongly anti-Zionist, and which is why we've got speaking tours up and down college campuses. And we have established, since I started this campaign, 20 new Campus Greens chapters in the state of California. They are out doing voter registration drives right now just to get the registration numbers up, because we know if the registration numbers up are in that demographic, that's going to be great for us. We just held something called the Unity Uprising. Senator Nina Turner, Dr. Melina Abdullah, the rapper Vic Mensa, Conscious Lee the influencer. We brought a gathering of Black leftists that we haven't had since the 60s, and we brought them together at Cal State LA. So they are afraid of our capacity to build coalitions that break the traditional duopoly categories. They are deathly afraid of this campaign, and they should be.
So
I think they should be, for sure.
So
and let me tell you, the Muslims, and I'm talking about in our demographic down in South Florida, they generally were not voters. They generally hadn't really been participatory in the electoral process as a group, as a bloc.
Gaza changed that. Gaza changed that.
Absolutely. And the change was instant in that one election cycle. And now they're very, very active and very, very, I say they like it's a, but like community speaking, at least in Broward, the Muslim community was always kind of, you'd see them at events here and there, but now it's a whole different thing.
Yep.
I texted Nina the day she endorsed, and I said, "Feels good to endorse somebody outside the two-party system, doesn't?" And she says, "Yes."
That's a big thing for her.
And by the way, she was on MS Now today, and she shouted me out on MS Now. I mean, like she's all in. She's been super supportive. We talk all the time, and I think that as somebody that's seen how crooked and corrupt the Democrats really are, I think this political relationship that Senator Turner and I have developed is really something that she's investing a lot of hope in, because if we're able to build this true third party alternative, then we're going to be able to bring people like Senator Turner and other disaffected progressives on board. That's already happening, and we're going to continue building it.
I love her to death. I wish she understood, and she truly understood, that she is persona non grata of the Democratic Party.
Her loyalty to the Democrats they were never worthy of it.
Nope.
And the way they treated her and all of it, just all of it. And I did, after the second time she ran, because we went and canvassed for her up in Cleveland. And so, and I love Nina. I'd go anytime, anywhere. If she wants it, I'm there. But it really bothered me that she's sort of like still stuck with them after what happened. And I'm no.
But Nina is a prime example of the people I mentioned before: Aguilar, Stoker, yourself, heck, even Shama Sawant, even though he wants to remain independent. I get it. But there is a coalition outside of the two-party system that if Nina were to fully commit to it and say, "I'm done with the Democratic Party, we have to build outside," she is a very powerful voice. She is, no question. She took me to church the first time I met her, and I was I figured that she was a preacher, but I'm like, okay, this woman could sell it and sell it well, but sell it from the heart and sell it from a place of compassion and justice. And that has always been our message. And when that becomes the reality, that you cannot save this system, no matter how much you try, no matter how much of a big Band-Aid you try to stick on it, that's what's going to happen. Now, I bring this to the conclusion of the conversation because I truly believe that liberals are more dangerous than conservatives in the United States because they sell empire much better. It is the wolf versus the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
And therein lies the rub, because as people have probably been noticing, there has been a change, an ever so slight change in language on the part of J Street and how they feel about Israel. Well, guess what? This article is from just a couple of months ago in Mondo Weiss, written by Philip Weiss.
Yep, there it is.
Street, the new AIPAC in the Democratic Party, and that is a fact.
100%, all facts, no printer. That's just the reality. And they're all cashing in. They're all feeding from the same trough. As I said before, it's the Israel first, California last party, and that's the reason why there's actually so many traditional independent, centrist, or even right wing voters. They might not agree with me on every single thing, but they know that I don't work for J Street or AIPAC, and they're just done voting with anybody that works for Israel. Period.
So for people who don't know, because not everybody knows who J Street is I hate using this term, a liberal Zionist organization, right? Like they consider themselves to be liberal Zionists. So like the J Street people believe that Palestinians deserve rights, but they also 1,000% believe that there should be an ethno-Jewish state. So it's that oxymoron, right? Sort of like that Jews for Jesus thing, that liberal Zionist. That's not a real thing. So now they're going to try to make themselves look a little bit more forgiving because.
Camera. So I'll continue. Point is that J Street this is the sleight of hand, if you will, that we see in politics constantly. Everybody gets focused on AIPAC and the shit that they're doing, where we constantly have to remind people 24/7 that if you think that that's the only pro-Israel organization flushed with millions of dollars trying to not only perpetuate the Zio state, but to screw over working people in the United States, this is all interconnected.
Yep. I'm going to answer the question that just popped up on screen.
Yes.
Me and Brian McGinnis are going to be in Berkeley on the 20th. We're going to be right out on Sproul Plaza. We're doing what I'm calling a teach out, not a teach in. We are going to be right out in the middle of the plaza, teaching people about anti-war activism. So we'll be there in Berkeley on the 20th. People can come to my website. We're putting up the schedule for the whole speaking tour. But to return to y'all's point, about J Street, it's just a mutation in the form of Zionism,
right?
And it's a mutation that is being conditioned to try to facilitate the survival of this virus, of this toxic organism, because AIPAC has become such a curse word, frankly, in American politics, that they now try to slip it in, through J Street. But let me just be clear. Even people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a few other Democrats who have a record of not taking money from J Street or AIPAC, but still nonetheless toe the liberal Zionist party line, still nonetheless cape for the genocidal regime. The corruption is obvious when you're on J Street or AIPAC payroll, but I really don't care if you do it for the love of the game or because of your personal ambition like Alex does. It's all the same to me. If you support the genocidal state, it doesn't matter to me whether they're paying you to do it or not, right? If you're doing it just on the love or because you want to be president one day, F you too. Like, I really don't care.
Oh, I said it just makes you a cheaper whore. I mean, look, like, I honestly, she should just take the money. You might as well take the money. I didn't understand it. She voted for it every time. Like, what are you doing?
Every single time.
I know that you really, we've talked about this before, but I really do not understand how Alex is being coached or being advised, because everything that is being done where she could easily be, as Jen likes to say, the Mockingjay. She has completely thrown that away and then
Oh,
some.
she threw that away after her first month. That was gone. She had an opportunity, but the truth is she was never who we were told she was in the first place. So it doesn't
that
matter.
was she. Yeah, studio progressive. You know, she was cosplaying a particular role for specific interests, and so be it. Peter, we didn't get the chance to talk about the Roger Waters concert, but thanks for pulling up at least for a minute.
Anytime, man. Anytime you're, like I said, I believe in your voice. I believe
He showed up there for Roger Waters.
We know, but I mean, who wouldn't, right? It's Pink Floyd himself. Why wouldn't you?
I'm telling you, one of the reasons why I want to, when everything settles, I would like you to come back with Roger, because I do want to ask Roger about Springsteen. I've wanted to ask somebody who knows Bruce personally at that level about, of all the people in this country who has kept his fucking mouth shut this entire time and knows exactly what's going on and refuses to do it. And I don't give a fuck if John Landau is one of your close friends and he's Jewish and is a proud Zionist.
Yeah.
There is no excuse for you to let Waters and everybody else. You had 1,000 musicians and people in the entertainment world sign that up regarding, we don't support Israel and we support Palestine. Bruce can't even make a statement. Can't even address this. And to me, that's a crime against humanity in itself, as far as I'm concerned. It's
disappointing, I will say. It has definitely been disappointing.
Let's just be clear. A lot of these cultural producers, they are owned by the same forces that own the two political parties. I mean, look up how many of the big record labels are owned by Zionists, and you'll understand why you've had, radio silence from the overwhelming majority of mainstream cultural figures. Shout out to all of the folks that have broken ranks, people like Kehlani, people like Macklemore, people like Vic Mensa, who attended, our Unity Uprising. And I'll just tell you, man, mark the date on the calendar. If you guys want to come out, May 2nd and May 3rd is the time to come out. We got big stuff planned, because the ballots get mailed out on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. We got a whole rebel uprising. We're taking down the Death Star. So we got some pretty big heavy hitters in the cultural sphere coming out to perform the weekend of May 2nd and 3rd, because I understand how important it is. The war for our political values is actually fought in the culture. And that's why it's so sad when, cultural leaders and icons, miss the opportunity, to speak truth to power, because they have a platform for it. And we have role models. We have people like Paul Robeson, who was willing to risk everything. We have people like Muhammad Ali, who was willing to risk everything. I gave a talk at USF recently and was reminding people about how Bill Russell, was able to use his platform to speak out for racial justice. So these people that have this position in the culture where their words carry and their words carry weight, they have a moral responsibility to step up and to speak out.
And I'll do you one better. Bruce was the headliner at the No Nukes concert back in 1979 during the Iranian Revolution.
Do you know why, Peter? Because every lib in the world was anti-nuke. It's the easiest possible thing to get behind. I mean, of course he was. That was not a hard thing to put your neck out for.
I understand that that's the position you take, but there are people that simply don't get involved in that stuff, especially because it was at the backdrop of the Iranian Revolution. I'm simply saying that he knows what's going on.
He's not. You give him way too much grace.
He doesn't know. I can't. I grew up in the same area as him. It's personal.
Switch over to being a Dolly fan like me. And say, what would Dolly do?
I feel like I should just back out of the room and let you guys sort this out.
I also want to say to Roger, if I saw him, is that "Comfortably Numb" to me is their best song. And,
oh my God! Can we just? Butch doesn't have time for this shit.
There is a guitar solo and
I love Pink Floyd, man. I had my emo phase at age 14. Where like in between listening to NWA songs, I was rocking out to Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall. Not gonna lie. So,
let's end on that note. Let's fight the power, because that's what it's all about. Guys, links are in the description. you know you're always welcome here, and we always look forward to talking to you. Hopefully we'll get another one in before the election. If we don't, you know we are obviously behind you. We're going to spread
Appreciate
the
you.
word. Let's keep getting it out there, and thank you for all that you do, brother.
All powers to the people. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
All power to the people. Thanks, Butch.
See you, man. So that was fun. Well, it's not fun.
Well, I love him. How could he's lovable.
He is. He's
Black
very
revolutionary Muslim. Yeah, that's gonna definitely be somebody that I'm hip to. You know what I'm saying? He's got all the character. Plus, he does occasionally post gym photos.
He's
You
got
seen him? Have you seen him?
He's got some. He's stronger than me. Yeah, he's got guns. Absolutely.
I've seen his exercising. It's
Yeah,
pleasant to watch.
Yeah, he
I'm
does
just
good stuff.
saying. Yeah.
I would say that when we're thinking about all the changes that we want to see in the world right now, it's difficult. It's somewhat dour in many respects, but you know, you have often said that Trump does not know what to do with Scheinbaum. Not just
he doesn't know what to do with no, the problem with I'm like tangled for some reason. I'm all tangled. The problem with her for him is Trump doesn't know what to do with women who are pretty but also smart.
Yeah.
See, this is a whole new he doesn't know what to do with that. Because he doesn't want to come off looking like a bully, so he's not going to do the kind of shit he would do if it were a man.
But he did.
And there's no way that he doesn't find her attractive, because she is objectively an attractive woman. So, like, this to him is a whole foreign concept.
Well, Scheinbaum is not only an attractive woman, she's also Jewish, and she is against the state of Israel. So I would say that those are very endearing qualities, to say the least. But now she has taken it a step further. And for the state of California in particular, and for Butch and anybody who's running for office, especially in any of the states that are connected to the southern border. How about this? Mexico's socialist president to roll out universal health care for 120 million people.
Look how cute she is. She looks like almost like Miss Rachel there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do a quick run through. Mexico's 120.
Have you seen her walking amongst her people? Have you ever watched her?
Yeah, they love her. They love her.
But no, have you watched her? How she interacts with people? Because I'm, as somebody who I was definitely a Princess Di fan, I want to tell you that Claudia Scheinbaum, the way she interacts with the public, has very Princess Di vibes.
Yeah,
to me.
I agree.
And that makes her and they loved her. So he's really, you know, she's a pickle for him.
And it's about to get a lot higher. 70% approval rating? Yeah. Those are totally fake polls. I have 100% approval with MAGA, according to CNN.
I've seen her walking amongst people. And yes, I know a lot of it is publicity and they stage things, and she's in locations that are, you know, that are suitable, but she's beloved. Yep. She's beloved. And when you have that, it doesn't really matter what other stuff goes on. That's the beauty of that.
Mexico's 120 million citizens will begin to enjoy free universal access to health care from next year, following a decree by Socialist President Claudia Scheinbaum. The landmark policy will unify a fragmented and unequal system that has left many unable to receive care at certain hospitals and clinics, forcing them instead to use only what their insurance providers cover.
Yes, she was assaulted.
In theory, Mexico's sprawling network of public health institutions should provide most people with coverage. But in practice, poor people and those in rural communities often cannot get the medicines or treatment they need without out-of-pocket expenses. Private health insurance, meanwhile, fills the gap, creating a two-tier system. The first phase of the new universal system will begin on April 13th, with citizens age 85 and older eligible to register for the ID needed access. Again, it's like getting a Medicare card. From January of 27, healthcare institutions will start working together to bridge gaps in access to care. Since coming to power in 24, Scheinbaum has sought to undo decades of damage caused by neoliberal policies, building on the work of the previous socialist government. She has pledged to build 1.8 million new homes to tackle a housing shortage while strengthening tenants' rights. Last year, she announced plans to shorten the work week from 48 hours to 40, while increasing the minimum wage by 13%, continuing a policy of regular hikes championed by her predecessor and mentor, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, since 2018. For years, it was said that the minimum wage couldn't go up, that it would cause inflation, that there would be no longer investment in the country, only foreign investment. Despite that, the following cumulative minimum wage increase of 154% since 2018, we are at a record level of foreign investment. When the rich can't hoard everything, you get this. You get a social democracy. This isn't even socialism. It's social democracy. That's what she's giving them.
It's the bare minimum.
And the fact that it's going to happen in a country that we have browbeat so hard, so long, for so many years, possibly because they're brown. But you know, the one thing we've always noticed about the Mexicanos, they have a wonderful culture. They have great food. They have great architecture. They have great infrastructure.
They were here first.
They sure as hell were. You hear that, Texas? You hear that, Texas? They were here long before you. But remember that Alamo. So why is this a big deal? It's a big deal because while that is what's going on in Mexico, this is what's going on here at the home front with the fearless leader who's in control of this country.
I don't know that I can handle
Please
him
pull
right
up my
now.
information. I want to show people exactly what we've been doing.
What are we looking at here? What are we
really great things.
I need. Oh,
So
this.
before I read this, in case anybody's wondering,
I need to prepare for this.
the two
Tonight's strain is checkmate, guys.
checkmate. That's a great name
That's
for this
tonight's
one.
strain.
The two most Catholic countries in the world are Mexico and Brazil. So this should not come as too much of a surprise to anybody.
I really like both those places.
Pope Leo is weak on crime and terrible on foreign policy. He talks about fear of the Trump administration, but doesn't mention the fear that the Catholic Church and all other Christian organizations had during COVID, that they were
What
arrested.
the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Excuse me, I'm talking. Where
I
they
can't, man.
where they were arresting priests, ministers, and everybody else for holding church services, even when going outside and being 10 and even 20 feet apart. I like his brother Louis much better than I like him because Louis is all MAGA. He gets it and Leo doesn't. I don't want a pope who thinks it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I don't want a pope who thinks it's terrible that America attacked Venezuela, a country that was sending massive amounts of drugs into the U.S., and even worse, emptying their prisons, including murderers, drug dealers, and killers, into our country. And I don't want a pope who criticizes POTUS because I'm doing exactly what I was elected to do in a landslide, setting record low numbers in crime and
He
creating.
says that every tweet. Landslide. Landslide. Here's the thing. If you won in a landslide, you wouldn't keep saying you won in a land. You wouldn't have to keep saying that.
landslide.
So he to me is, I don't think I've ever seen a more insecure person in general. I don't. If you have to keep announcing your greatness, you're not so great.
Leo should be thankful because, as everyone knows, he was a
Exactly.
shocking surprise. He wasn't on
Since when was the Pope's job to be hard on crime? Exactly. Well, I'm sorry. I don't think that he probably studied that at seminary.
and was only put out there by the church because he was an American and they thought that would be the best way to deal with President Donald J. Trump. Yes, I speak in the third person. If it wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican.
Right.
Unfortunately, Leo's weak on crime, weak on nuclear weapons, does not sit well with me, nor does the fact that he meets with Obama sympathizers like David Axelrod, a loser from the left, who is one of those who wanted churchgoers and clerics to be arrested. Leo should get his act together as Pope, use common sense, stop catering to the radical left, and focus on being a great Pope, not a politician. It's hurting him very badly, and more importantly, it's hurting the Catholic Church. President Donald J. Trump.
Okay, can I? All right, and most people know this. I'm an atheist. I generally am not about the religion. And
Alan, I need
whatever.
the photo, please.
But I've got to say that where the fuck does he get off calling the Pope Leo? Because let me tell, I'm somebody who I would call professors by their first name sometimes if I knew that they were okay with it, and a lot of people wouldn't do that. Like, but he's calling the Pope Leo. That is so fucking disrespectful.
You think that's disrespectful?
Oh, this is. And then he tries to backtrack
Bless
and
you.
say that he was supposed to be like a Red Cross worker.
Oh no.
That's what he said. He goes, it wasn't about Jesus. It was about being a healer, like a
Alan,
doctor.
get a little closer, please.
He is. I think it looks more like Jon Stewart than Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, no, here's the thing. I am not into the diversity bullshit because I know it's overrated, but it's so deliberate that everybody's white and they're all so waspy.
Again, I don't see how they think that looks like Jeffrey Epstein.
Whatever he is. And look at Jen, it's not just that, it's the American flag, it's the Statue of Liberty, and then you've got the fighter jets flying in the background.
Right, for the peace president of the War Department. Okay. And then also above him in the middle.
That looks like Satan.
Is that Thanos? Is that
looks
Thanos?
like Satan.
I do not understand. If this is not an act of, like, again, I have to look for like cameras like that are not this camera. Like, are they wanting
He's off his
the
line.
25th Amendment? Are they like, what's the plan here?
Maybe he's testing the waters to see how far he can push it before they finally say, all right, we've had enough.
But somebody who puts this out, again, I'm not into the religion. I don't do like pomp and circumstance, but it's just so disrespectful. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an atheist, but I can respect other people's religions if it's important to them. And I would not be, that's just disrespectful.
Beyond disrespectful. This is insane. This is a level of insanity, which again, the problem with him is that, again, he's such a fucking showman. He just doesn't care because in his mind, it becomes, well, listen, they'll either totally love this or they'll hate it. And I'll say, well, it was just a joke anyway. So what do you care? I don't
This
know.
is true, Mehdi. You would never see a Muslim person would never do that like that. You're 1,000%.
Mehdi, you look
Never
different.
do something like
You
that.
get Mehdi has blue hair now. Interesting. Mehdi, have you become
Are you a Dem? Are you a Dem now, Mehdi?
Are you an ultra lefty now? No. Yeah.
You know what? It's unfair. And I've never been a real blue fan. Like, blue is not, I'm usually like warmer colors. So blue has never been like a color I'm into. So I'm never a blue person, but I feel like this is so bad for the color blue, right? Like, Mehdi should be able to go get beautiful blue hair. And, blue is the color of the Cookie Monster and of Grover and, Smurfs. And it shouldn't be commandeered by neolibs, So
Yeah.
I want to take back the blue from the libs. They don't get to own blue. That's not a thing anymore.
As disturbing as this is for us to talk about, because clearly we just can't seem to get enough of this shitbag, I think it is fair to say that the president of the United States actually does take advice from Looney Loomer. Like, he actually does listen to her.
Oh, this woman. You say her name, I cannot with this woman.
Well, you do have a graphic for her, don't you?
I don't have one for Laura Loomer.
What? I thought you did. I don't know why I thought you might have had one.
No, I did something. We did something. I mean, there was that thing we put up that had her side by side with Jigsaw, but I didn't do that.
Yeah. If
And I don't want to, honestly, because her looks are not what I want to talk about her.
No,
Like, I really don't. And in fact, when people focus on that, that's just, don't.
when the rats are jumping off the shit, which is, or I wouldn't even say it that way because they're not.
Okay, Saul's right. We could do this. You're right. Saul's right. Good suggestion, Saul.
Well,
Good suggestion, Saul. Because just so people know, we have women that are big dick energy sequoias. So you get people like Francesca or Josephine or,
Little Larry,
or Medea.
Yes,
And
Medea.
those are sequoia ladies. So yes, I agree. This could be
Medea is the Jewish version of the ninja princess that you call Ilhan Omar.
kind of, yeah. Like this is what I said. I called her a Jedi Muslim princess is what I called Ilhan. Because at that iftar, well, first of all, black is flattering on everybody. So yeah, she was wearing all black and whatever. And she's so little and just, yeah.
Could be. And as we have seen, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens have been leading the charge, but now 2 other prominent voices are truly breaking away and understand the future is the MAGA, is not MAGA, but it is the America First movement. That, of course, is Megyn Kelly and Alex Jones. And
I agree, tall chick. I agree.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something. If Laura Loomer opened a mouth like that to like my friend Mo,
she would have a jigsaw face. Is basically what
I agree, tall chick. That's exactly what needs to be happening.
So when Trump goes on another rant talking about how much Tucker Carlson's uneducated and Megyn Kelly's bleeding from different places and all this crap, who is he getting the talking points from? Well, Looney Loomer claims that she's the one responsible for this.
The president has had enough of Tucker shit. And yeah, I'm just going to admit it. I sent the president Tucker Carlson's clip so he can see the shit that he says about him. I do. And I want that motherfucker Tucker Carlson to know that I'm the one who knifed him from the front.
Keep it up. Fly, Icarus, fly. Fly, bitch.
Like, something's going to happen to this person. Like, I just got your one-way ticket to Tel Aviv. You better have it ready. Although I don't know how long Tel Aviv is going to stand at this point.
I want him to know. I'm not talking about physical violence, physical knifing. But yeah, I'm the one that sent the president all your shit, Tucker, because he deserves to.
Actually, I do think you're talking about physical violence. Now, I don't know if you would be the one to do it, but you gleefully support the blowing up of Palestinian babies, going into southern Lebanon, starting war with Iran. You've been at the forefront of that. So yes, you sinister cunt. You are one. And I never use that word. So I really don't like this person, even though I think this person had something to do with something in my personal life.
She's not. See, I don't like to use the word cunt for her. Not really. It's not. It's because cunt is, a lot of things are cunt, right? Like we see that a lot. She's so far beyond. She is so far beyond what I would call a cunt.
Mm.
That's the thing about her.
We'll continue.
To see the fact that you are lying about him and you are smearing him and you are saying the most vile things about our country and our president, and you are creating so much chaos. You're going to cause the Democrats to take the House and the Senate, and you are endangering our national security by whitewashing this barbaric death cult ideology known as Islam. So I just hope that he knows that.
The only barbarian that I see is this freak. That's what I see. But hey, Laura, I got to tell you, in a roundabout way, I kind of want to give you credit because you were almost single-handedly bringing down the empire. Like,
I'm just amazed that she was able to take Trump's cock out of her mouth long enough to make this presentation.
Well, she's got a huge mouth and he's got a really small one, so it's
I guess she could do both at the same time.
I was going to say, when Trump's going like this, He may actually be implying that it's he and another guy taking it in her mouth at the same time. I mean, she's got a mouth
so
big enough
gross.
for two. So, hey,
She's just
I
so
mean,
disgusting. This is
just saying.
she is
I'm
truly
just saying.
she is truly an evil, evil person.
Now, does she just hate herself? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I don't know. Some people are just bad seeds. It's true. Some
Well,
people are just bad seeds.
again, I haven't, you could take it with a grain of salt, but my understanding is that her family has basically disowned her. Like they think she's a lunatic. Like that she should be like committed to an institution type level shit. Like
And
that's
here's the thing, maybe she has something organically wrong with her as well. That's also possible.
sure.
And I don't know. Maybe she does have something that's certifiable. But the way that she talks and acts, and it's something's wrong with her. And I'm going to say she was just born wrong.
4% of the population of the world is considered born wrong. So there you go.
Yes, Tucker, there are people out there who actually have the courage to take your drivel and take your bullshit to the president and to stand up against you. I don't know who Tucker Carlson thinks he is. He thinks he's so popular. Even President Trump today called him out and said he's like a third-rate podcaster. I don't know why Tucker Carlson thinks he's so fucking special.
He is.
Oh, this is so nice coming from her.
He is. The one thing about Tucker Carlson is that he's been relevant in politics for over 30 years and he's as popular as ever. So you can say whatever the hell you want about him just because he is of immense financial privilege. But you know what? That doesn't really mean anything if you don't have talent. He's clearly got something.
Guys, is it me, women in the chat, or are there anybody who's a makeup wearer in the chat? She needs to blend, right? Why do I see the line where her bronzer and her neck meet? Am I, what the hell? Laura, I think you could afford a better situation for yourself. That's just not good.
Considering
I don't think I ever saw a profile like that.
Considering how high up the food chain she is, yes, she could definitely afford it. But then again,
I'm literally looking at her bronzer line across her jawline at her white neck. That's just.
No, trust me, it's really great. She uses the same stuff I use.
He's not special. He is endangering the lives of Christians, of Catholics, of Jews, and all.
Catholics are Christians, but you knew that,
But
right?
she's
Non-Muslim.
He's endangering all their lives.
Yeah.
In the way that he continues to whitewash this death cult ideology and the way that he continues to incite violence against evangelicals and Jewish Americans and even the president himself.
Oh, Laura, you're such a
Oh my goodness.
such a piece of shit.
But I do want to remind people before we conclude this topic that
I can never be in the same vicinity as that woman.
Laura Loomer is not who you think she is. Not even a little bit. We always say that everybody's a grifter. You just have to know when you get caught in the grift. And in this case, she was caught a long time ago. And this is always going to be a reminder that Laura Loomer is not only a freak, but a grifting freak, and always has been. Here's Laura Loomer with Hillary Clinton back in 2016.
She was with her.
Mm-hmm. She got the buttons.
Her. Yeah, that is Laura Loomer.
Oh, I don't want to scare anybody because obviously we're getting a little up close and personal, but
honestly, that's not good at all. Put it away. Put it away.
Different
That's
hair,
so bad.
different nose. Yeah, she's definitely done quite a few things to herself. And she's wearing the buttons to prove it. So, do you really think that this woman back in 2016 was all about the Trump train? No, not at all. But now, for some oddball reason, she seems to be at the head of the food chain. You know what else I remember, Jen, distinctly from 2016? Mark Levin and Lil Ben Shapiro shitting all over the Donald. Did the same thing throughout the course of his presidency, and then did it in 20. But then things seem to change over the past couple of years. And now we know why. Trump
You know what? She's really, I mean, there's something very wrong with her, is what I think. First and foremost, I think there's something very wrong with her, like organically, medically. I do. I think there's something wrong with her. But I don't understand why she's taken seriously by anybody. That's the part that, like, I think she's a disgusting piece of shit and very, yeah. But the bigger, why does anybody listen to her? That's what I don't understand. Like, who the fuck is she that she, I mean, guys, she's a graduate of Barry University. I mean, I don't get it. What is the deal? That's what I was saying. She must give good head. She must. I cannot understand for the life of me. Where did she come from? It's like, just, I don't get it.
As we come full circle for the evening, I want people to understand that the night is always darkest before the dawn. But the one thing we have noticed, and this is the whole thing about whether it's military expansion, whether it's devaluing currency, whether it's something as simple as a new prime minister in a country like Hungary. Little by little, the Zio state is starting to recognize that they're not long for this world, especially in terms of leadership and in terms of infrastructure. It is eventually going to die. Now, will it morph into something else in the interim? Probably. But I think enough people are catching on to just how volatile their grift really is. And as we always like to highlight at least once a show, in terms of how bad things are truly getting for the Zios, this is a great example where you can clearly see that they're concerned, that they're losing control.
Kill children! You kill children! That's how cheap all of you are! That's how cheap all of you are! Pedophilia! Rape! Oh yeah, it's too much! Oh,
I love this lady.
Oh, it's too much!
I love her. I follow her. I forget what her handle is, and I've seen a lot of her stuff on Instagram. She's awesome.
And this is in Germany. You know, for whatever reason, there
is that where she is? She's in
Berlin.
Germany?
Yeah, it's in Berlin. And this is from a couple of days ago. And what we've learned is that there is a portion, at least a chunk of the German population that is still basically conscripted with World War II Holocaust guilt. And so even if they don't necessarily agree with what the state wants them to do in terms of bowing at the altar that is the state of Israel, they do it anyway because that's just the way things are. Now, little by little, things are starting to change, as it would appear. Now, I want to play this one more time because I didn't hear all of what you said, but listen carefully. So I don't see her name, but again, shout out to Roy and News English. They do an amazing job.
Someone find her name.
Yeah.
That's how cheap all of you are! Pedophilia! Rape! Oh yeah, it's too much! Oh, it's too much! Oh, it's too much! Are you weak? Are you weak? Are you scared? What are you scared about? What are you scared about? What are you scared about? What are you scared about?
Oh.
Can we just address the fact that, once again, something that has never ceased to amaze me with these people, you've got police guards all around there, and this woman is coming up there like she's just gonna do her thing.
Yeah.
And it seems that the Israelis just never, ever get told or put in their place the way that they should. They're the level of entitlement, as you like to address.
I don't know that this is an Israeli or a Zio. Like, I don't know that that's an Israeli.
That's fair. I mean, it's at least a Zio.
I mean, you're in Germany here, so it very well could just be a Zionist for whatever reason.
Yeah. Gets right in her face.
Look at her! Look at what she just did! Look at what she just did! She's scared! She's scared! She's scared! You're all scared! You killed children! You killed children!
She's right.
Oh, yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah.
She's
Well,
hiding behind the little, yeah, but they are gonna know. They have to have at least somewhat of an inkling to know that the world is done with them.
Yeah, no, they do. They do. Everywhere they're going.
So what are they gonna
Well, I moved to somewhere where it's like the last place they're coming. So that's how I handled the situation.
I don't think we do not have enough time to cover it tonight, but on Thursday we will.
Did you do super chats?
We're gonna finish with super chats in just a minute. We have a couple more to get to. Thursday we're going to talk about the RESIGNS and how the water privatizers of California have just completely taken over the pistachio trade. And I love pistachios. But you know where the best pistachios come from, ladies and gentlemen? Where do they come from, Jen?
California.
Iran.
Oh, I thought you meant where we farm them here. They're California.
No, we farm them in California, but the best
Yeah.
pistachios are in West Asia, in Iran. That's where they are. And the
Very
monopolization.
proud of you for saying West Asia. That's a big step for you.
Oh, can I get a pat on the head? Before we go, I want to remind you guys on Wednesday, if you happen to be in the DC area, this is a very big event. 1,000 Doctors Against Genocide will be organizing this
And me
event.
and Peter.
And yeah, well, we'll be there to cover. We'll be able to document. And Jordan and I are going to coordinate. I'm going to hopefully get him some footage for Status Coup. We will get this out there to as many people as possible on our channel. Hopefully some of our DC friends will be able to show up as well. But this is a big event. This is an all-day event. And, you know, you never know who we might run into. We hope.
You never know when you're in DC who you're going to run into.
I tell you, if Ilhan sees you, though, I bet you she comes right up to you.
Well, I mean, what are the odds that she's just milling around?
Well, they're in session, so anything's possible. I would say that.
I do like her, and I do like Ilhan.
The best time to catch them, honestly, is during lunch. You know, that's pretty much the best time.
You're gonna go talk to Debbie, or how about Ziopussy?
I would be tempted to. Well, Debbie would never see anybody. That's the thing. She doesn't see people. Like, there are Congress people that see people that are not completely corrupt. So we will be there for the next few days, Tuesday to Friday, or well, technically Saturday. But point is, Wednesday is the big day, and you know we want to try to bring as much attention to this as possible. I've never really walked the halls of Congress. So it'll be interesting.
You know what? Other than when we had the boys there and we went and we did the tour, I've not walked around in there either because, yeah, I don't know. It never seemed like that much fun to me.
Well, I wouldn't. I can't say to what extent it would be fun, but I think that
we're going tomorrow. Am I seeing you tomorrow night?
Possibly.
I don't know. Well, there's a sushi restaurant on the roof of my hotel.
Okay. Well, Jen knows how to get my attention. Just talk about food.
I'm just saying that was something I thought about.
We will be doing our show on Thursday from DC. Mm-hmm. We're still figuring out how we're going to do it, but it'll be fun. Maybe we'll have some interesting guests, you know.
Don't expect great lighting. Let's say that. I'll put that out there.
Probably not.
I'm not going to be traveling with my lighting.
We'll do the best we can. But yes, this is a big event. So spread the word. We'll get the clip. We'll get the clip up tomorrow, so that way we can keep spreading the word out there. People are in DC.
Hey, arguably misogynist much.
Anyways, make sure that you support the event as best you can. Spread the word as best you can. We want to thank you all again for coming on this evening. Do
I need a gas mask?
I don't know. It's not that type of situation. I doubt.
I hope not. I mean, I have one. I just, yeah. Anyhow.
We have had a few more super chatters come in, so we do want to thank you all. But here's Texas Real 007 with a $20 super chat. Davy Crockett didn't appreciate that, Peter. I don't. Which one were you referring to? Oh, Texas. Yeah. Well, it was Mexico before it was Texas. That is true. Got to keep it 100. But yes, we got no problems with our Texas brethren. Jensen, well, you are a Texan.
No, my son is a Texan. I lived in San Antonio for 6 years. I loved it. I wouldn't have left actually if there had been an opportunity at a practice there for my husband at the time. But yeah, my son was born in San Antonio, and to say that I'm familiar with the Alamo would be an understatement, because every time somebody came to visit, they wanted to go to the Alamo. Arguably, Bull, if you were being helpful and I misread that, I'm sorry. But the Alamo does not have a basement, for those of you interested. There's no basement at the Alamo.
There's no basement at the Alamo.
There's no basement at the Alamo.
Yeah, the Alamo was built without a basement. I wonder how many people get that reference. I hope enough do. Kwani B, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Really appreciate you, my friend. Semper Tard. I don't know how one can be in the Marines and call themselves a tard, but thank you very much for the $20 super chat. Really appreciate you. And Doug Grinbergs. It's good to see you, pal. It's been a little while. Thank you for the $5. Common dreams as Mexico enacts universal health care. Advocate Wendell Potter says, insurers stranglehold moving U.S. in opposite direction. Well, for now they are. But more and more, we just head towards some type of a revolution. So we'll see how this ultimately unfolds.
Mi tierras? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're asking. Am I from there? Am I from? I mean, what's it? Tierras? What's the verb? What's that verb? Tell me what you're saying.
Yeah.
Soy gringa, lo siento.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm not familiar with that term. I know me is my. So my tierras, but
I'm not sure but he was questioning. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Go again.
Yes.
Mi tierras restaurant.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that.
No, mi ristorante.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, but I definitely was very spoiled. And if anybody, yeah, Henry's puffy
Antonio's
tacos.
got very good Tex-Mex. Excellent.
Shout out. No, it isn't about the Tex-Mex. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. The actual Mexican food, in where my law school, St. Mary's, is in a portion of San Antonio it's the barrio. And so the places that are there are so authentic. And there's a place called Henry's Puffy Tacos, and it's the best thing. And honestly, you get so spoiled.
So two of the next the three next live streams, I will be on the road and Jen will be on the road for two of them. So yes, the show always goes on, even on the road. So just be on the lookout.
Wait, I'm on the road for two? No, just one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I do a solo show. Sorry.
Yeah. Well.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We'll see you from DC, and free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Good night, guys.